Unsolicited advice.
Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Unsolicited Advice. I'm your host Jacob Zobers, and I'm sitting down with Eddie, last name?
Eddie Knezevich.
Eddie Knezevich, who is a financial advisor at
Lifetime Financial Growth.
Lifetime Financial Growth, where you are a
Registered investment advisor.
registered investment advisor for personal finance?
Yeah, we do personal and we do business finance as well.
That's awesome. Do you handle the business finance stuff?
So it's kind of unique. I don't actually handle any of the finances. I'm more of kind of the front person, if you will, or the relationship manager. When we're building relationships, then we hire experts in every discipline or every field. So like we've got investment specialists, we have insurance specialists, we've got Social Security specialists, we've got people that do income protection, annuities, basically like every type of product line that you could have.
Yeah.
And those people, their job all day is to work on the product side or the back side, make sure that when we bring a client in that they're helping out with all that stuff.
Right.
And then my job really is to kind of dumb it down and relay the message in English to most people.
I gotcha. Cool. So it's like specialized things, but then you're kind of like the funnel.
Yeah,
making
exactly.
Sure the package.
I'm the funnel.
At the end of the day, this is the deal we're laying out in front of you.
Exactly.
Well, that's awesome, and I feel like I said before we started, that your expertise is going to be really helpful, especially to this age range of listener, because a lot of us are running around, and you follow like a couple like Instagram accounts that are like success based, and they're like, invest this, make a runway, make a emergency fund, get a 401k, get a Roth IRA, and all these things, and that's all fine and dandy, but a lot of us don't really know where to get started, so hopefully you'll be able to help us out with some answers.
Definitely. Anything you want to know, I'll help you guys out.
Great. So I was thinking as a good place to start, credit, establishing credit, bad credit. What is credit?
Yeah, so credit, interesting. So the best way to start, honestly, is as young as you possibly can. So what we always tell people is like, if you have children, like people don't even know that you can do this, but you can actually put a minor on a credit card if you're an adult, and you can charge stuff to it and start building your kid's credit, even when your kid is like 4, 5, 6 years old. So by the time they actually get to adulthood and they are able to go out and start purchasing things, they've already amassed a large amount of buying power because they've been on a credit card that's been paid on for 10, 20 years. Exactly. So a lot of people don't even know that. That's a really good place to start. As far as like credit repair and those kind of things, now we can't say that like only work with one, but some of the companies out there like Credit Karma and the places that are Experian, they'll give you like a free credit report.
Yeah.
Those are good places to start when you want to find out kind of where you are today versus where you want to go. And you'll be able to identify some things on there that are good and some things on there that are bad that you should pay attention to. But what we always tell people from a credit perspective is, and this is the same thing that most mortgage lenders and lenders in any institution will tell you, you want to keep your revolving debt, so like credit card debt, all that stuff, below 20% of what's available to you. So if you have a $500 credit card or $1,000 credit card, you don't ever want to keep a balance above $200 on that card, because that negatively affects you.
That's when your credit score starts to go down.
Yeah, it's in between 20 and 30%. The credit bureaus are changing their algorithms all the time, so you never know whether it's like 22, 28. So we always tell people, it's like, just stay at 20 or under, and if you can maintain that. But then on the flip side, people are always like, well, what if I use my credit card, max it out every month, and then pay it off? That actually negatively affects you. So the best thing to do, what we tell people, is apply for credit cards on a regular basis. So always continue to keep applying for more cards, even if you're not using them, because you want to have the most amount of credit extended to you, but you want to have the lowest balance on that amount that you have extended to you.
And that's how to make a really good score.
It's a part of it. So there's a lot of different pieces that go into it, but that's one of the factors that helps out with that stuff.
Because you would think having 7 different credit cards doesn't, because that doesn't sound good.
No, well, so for example, so I'll give you an example, real life example myself. So when I started on my own credit journey, I had one credit card. I would literally max it out every single month, just like most people tell you to do, and then I would pay it off at the end of the month. Credit score would maybe change like 5 to 10 points throughout the year. Then I started adding other lines of credit, a car payment, other lines of credit. Now I have like around $100,000 in credit cards that are extended to me, but I only charge about $1,000 a month on my credit cards. So in the eyes of a creditor or credit bureaus, I have a very low risk So when they're looking, I'm not looking at it, or I'm not using it, so they look at me like, hey, this guy's really low risk, so his credit score has jumped up. So now my credit score over the last couple of years went from like, I think when I first started out in this business, I was like at a 550, and I just looked at it today, and I think it's like an 811 or an 813, somewhere around there. So
and like 750 is like good, so 811 is probably pretty dope.
Yeah, 850. I think 850 is the highest score you can get, which is like almost unachievable.
Right.
But yeah, anything above 750 is like incredible.
Nice.
But yeah, I always tell people use like Credit Karma, Experian, those kinds of different TransUnion, those different kinds of services that'll give you free credit reporting.
Right.
And then even some of your banks nowadays will give you a FICO score, and then those things that are on there, you can sit down with a credit professional or a credit specialist, and they'll be able to tell you what to pay off, how to pay it off, and then how to increase your score.
See, so like the paying it off part is what gets tricky. Is this like paying it off? If you have a balance, probably getting it away as fast as possible is probably the goal.
Yeah.
But like, if you could pay it all in one lump sum, do you do that?
Well, there's good credit and there's bad credit. So revolving debt or unsecured lines are bad credit. So credit cards.
What's an unsecured line?
Basically, it's not tied to you personally.
Okay.
So like a car or a house where there's a physical asset and it's tied to you is a secured line.
Okay.
Student loan is a secured line. It's basically like a mortgage. It's a very long period of time where you're going to be paying.
Right.
Versus a credit card, it's 12-month cycle.
Yeah.
So anything that's secured, you want to pay on as long as you can and just make as many payments every single month on time as you can.
Yeah, right.
Unsecured lines, you want to pay off as quickly as possible because those are what negatively affect your score.
Gotcha.
Or there are
So having a car payment is not necessarily the worst thing in the world.
No.
Having a student loan payment isn't necessarily the worst.
As long as you're making the payments.
As long as you're making a weekly payment, month.
Yeah, weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, however you guys have it set up. It's always good as long as you're continuing to do that. And it actually will help you over a long period of time if you continue to make those same exact payments because you're establishing credit and you're keeping the credit going for a very long period of time.
When you say same exact, you mean same like price? Or same, not price, but same amount of money?
It can be, yeah. Just depends. Every situation is different.
Right.
You'd have to look at the situation specifically, but yeah, for the most part, in a general speaking sense, if you make the same amount
That's pretty good.
payments, it'll positively affect your credit.
It's
over
like
time.
this dude, $100, he's thinking about it, or this person rather.
Yeah, exactly.
So, cool. And how do you? What's a bad credit? The unsecured lines.
Yeah, just anything like credit cards, anything like that.
Is there any other ones, examples of an unsecured line?
People do like rings, like they'll go out and buy like rings for their girlfriend when they're gonna get engaged or something.
Right,
Like
like a
unsecured
camper or
line there.
something,
Yeah, campers. There's a lot of different ones out there. People that do the payday lending, they go and they an unsecured line would be like pledging your next paycheck before you have it. They go to the check casher places. Payday loans, that's an unsecured line.
That's a terrible place.
Yeah.
I've had, just...
Medical collections are unsecured lines. So like anytime you get a medical bill, if they say, hey, we're going to go after collections on you, that's actually an unsecured line against your credit.
That's interesting.
So, yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Because that's not in your control.
Exactly.
Which is unfortunate. So to get specific on my own stuff, which is cool. So my car has semi-high mileage on it. It's like 100,000 miles. And I was thinking about getting a new car soon because it's just in my mind now. Like, do I start saving for? I don't have a car payment right now. I just finished paying it off.
Yeah.
Which makes it dumb. Like, oh, now I'm just gonna go get a new payment. But like, would it be better to tackle? So like, if I get like a Honda Civic, it's like $19,000.
Correct.
If I have like a $4,000 credit for my car, is it better to apply that to the 19 and then start making a small payment every month? Or would you think it'd be better to just have no payment for as long as possible?
My recommendation is no payment for as long as possible.
Right.
That's going to be way better for you in the long run. Now, when maintenance starts to exceed on a monthly basis what the payment would be for a new vehicle, then you get rid of it. So in other words, when you're starting to spend like $200 to $300 a month to keep the thing going, then it probably doesn't make sense to keep it because you might as well get a new vehicle and you're going to spend $200 to $300 a month to have that.
Yeah.
So, your residual once you get beyond that like 5-year time frame, generally what my friends in the auto industry have told me is just drive as long as you possibly can.
Yeah. Till it runs. Till it dies.
Till it dies.
Nice. What is something that you see a lot of? Like, what's the average age of some of your clients?
We range all the way from 23 years old all the way up to 73 years old. So it's like probably a 50-year gap between them. But our average, I would say probably like 25 to 45 is like our average age. We have a lot that are getting a lot, older than that and starting to get into the 50s and 60s. But Usually like new families, people that just got out of college that have racked up a bunch of student loan debt, trying to pay that stuff down. They want to purchase their first home.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, I just started working in corporate America. Do I do the 401k? Where do I put my money? Which benefits do I elect? So those are a lot of people that we're dealing with on a regular basis.
And those are kind of like, a lot of it is first-time financial planners.
Yeah, first-time financial plans, yeah.
So like, what does a first-time financial plan look like if you're, I don't know, making like 32 a year?
Yeah. So what we tell people is everybody's situation is completely different. There's a lot of investment advisory firms out there that they lead with product, not process. And so I look at it as like your situation is completely different than his situation, and it's completely different than my situation. And
What's the product first then? 'Cause that sounds like you're doing plan first, right?
Some companies, what they'll do is they're just trying to sell you a widget, or they're just saying, hey, everybody should have a Roth IRA.
Right.
Or everybody should have this type of insurance product, or everybody should have a 401k. Not everybody should. It might make sense from a generality perspective, but honestly, your situation is different than mine, so your plan should look different than mine.
Right.
So what we do is we custom tailor solutions for individuals' needs. So when we sit down with people, we take a needs analysis. We find out where are you at today, where do you want to go tomorrow? Are we the right fit, the right firm to build a bridge to help you get from A to Z? If we're not, we tell people, hey, here's some other firms that we recommend you possibly sit down with, because they've got something that would fit for what you're looking for. But what we do is we do a comprehensive, like 3,000 foot snapshot of your situation specific to your needs. So like if somebody was like, hey, I'm making 30 grand, here's what my budget is every single month, here's what I've got in debt, I would structure something for them with, here's what you should be putting towards growth or long-term savings, here's what you should be putting towards your debt, here's what you should be putting towards your savings, and then here's what you should be putting towards your protection bucket. Making sure that your plan works under every economic circumstance.
Okay.
So it's all a balancing act.
Right.
And it's not about product, it's about process.
But so is that how is that generally the process? Is like, instead of just doing like, okay, you have a $2,500 credit card balance, let's tackle it all right now. You're saying, no, let's pay it off slowly over time, while
Potentially.
also paying off, potentially, right?
Yeah.
Because each case is different.
Every case is different. So what we do is like literally, there's no two plans are alike.
That's good.
So when we sit down with people, like the first meeting that we have with them is literally just finding out about their situation, their personal life. So like a use case for, a 20, like everybody's different. I mean,
Right.
I literally sat down this week, I can give you just like a scope of the people that I've worked with. Real estate investor,
Yeah.
30 years old, making $250,000 a year, investing everything above and beyond his living expenses into real estate, okay? We've got physicians who are just getting out of fellowship, getting their first paychecks where they're going from $50,000 a year to $500,000 a year.
Right.
And then we've got people that literally just got their first job at Victoria's Secret, Abercrombie and Fitch,
yeah.
those kind of places, Chase, and they're like, we're making 35, 40 grand a year, we have a mountain of student loan debt, we're getting engaged. So everybody's plan is literally completely different. There's not like everybody should have a Roth IRA, everybody should have this, everybody should have that. It's literally every single person's situation is different, so you have to attack it from that perspective. And from a fiduciary standpoint, if you're really acting in the client's best interest,
Yeah.
you're not leading with product. You're
No.
leading with, a consultative approach of, here's what I would do if I was in your shoes.
Okay, so then how about this? And this is where it's going to get, I'm going to share too much. I'm going to give some of my financial issues,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then you can just tell me what
Okay.
I should maybe do.
Yeah,
Maybe in the
yeah.
light fiduciary type of
Yeah, exactly.
without having the chart and all that.
Uh-huh.
So I had a very small student loan that I took out because my aunt had saved up some cash for me to go to college, my parents too, and by like the first semester of my third year, that was the first time I had to take out a loan. It was very small, but it was also when I was moving down here from Cleveland.
Okay.
So like the whole thing kind of got like lost in the process. We
Yeah.
took it out, we used it, but we kind of forgot about it.
Okay.
And it was out in my name.
So now they're coming after you.
Well, they did, and
They
I
found
said
it.
because they found me, and I set it all up to pay it off. But then I remember it because my balance for my credit card got cut in half, and one day it just flipped from 4 to like 2,500.
Okay.
And so I was like, what the hell is that? And then I'm finally answering the debt collector, and I'm like, oh, this actually might be real. It's not like some scam.
Yeah.
So they set up a 9-month payment plan where if I pay every 9 months or every, once a month for 9 months, they'll undefault me on my loan. So I just did that. So that just happened. So like now it's in the 60-day like processing time. So I undefault. And then I have like a full balance on my credit card. I've been running full balance for about a year.
Yeah.
About like 2,400 of the 25 available.
Yeah, of course, it's funny how they reduced it right down to above what you're at, right?
Yeah, very slightly.
Yeah.
And then I've tried to like consistently make payments on it, but then as soon as like I get like a little bit down the line, something happens. Like I blow a tire or something usually happens, which is typical. I'm assuming for most people.
It is, and what I would tell you is like what you're going through right now, you're not alone.
Yeah, right.
Most people are in the exact same situation that you're in.
Yeah, and so what are some first steps to going to tackle?
So what I always tell people is I would open up, what I would recommend doing is I would open up a no balance credit card, like a no balance transfer, like a 0% for 12 months.
Okay.
And I would try and transfer the balance of that credit card there so that you don't, because you probably have a high interest rate.
It's kind of...
Right, 18 or 20 or 14 or 15%, something ridiculous.
Yeah.
So think about it, if it's...
20, I guess it's not 10.
Yeah, so if you have a $2,000 balance, a $1,000 balance at 20%, that's $200 a year. So every single time you make an $80 deposit in there, like only
just paying the interest.
Yeah, you're paying interest.
Payment's usually $50 is what they ask for me.
And so what my recommendation would be to do is to move that money. I always recommend to go work with a credit union.
Yeah.
Credit unions will they'll either have a lower rate card, guaranteed like 6% to 11% is usually the highest rates at credit unions. And they don't have to compete with big box banks because you're a member, you own it. You're an owner of the credit union when you become a member of one.
Can you name a credit union that's local in Columbus? Is Kenba a credit union?
Kenba's a credit union, Ohio's a credit union, Wright Pat Credit Union, Cooper State Bank.
And they just make their own cards?
They do. They make them in their home office, but you can't like go in and just get one off the street. But they'll make one, they'll run a credit check on you. But what I'd recommend doing is migrating your money from a credit card with a high interest balance over to a 0% if you can. I always use Credit Karma as my tool because they actually have a tool where you can go in and they'll tell you the probability of getting approved for some of these cards, and then they can actually direct you right to that site where you can apply right from Credit Karma to get the credit cards. You get a couple of cards opened up, transfer the balance from the high interest debt over to the 0% debt.
See, I didn't even know you could transfer your credit.
You can transfer your balance. You can do it. But you have to make sure there's no fees or it's 0% or free to transfer it.
It's got to be the right account.
It's got to be the right account. But if you can do that, so what you do is you transfer it over, then you just keep making the same payments that you've been making, and that'll eliminate over the next 12 months all that debt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Because then you're not paying
interest, you're paying 100% principal.
Right, because even if I pay that 50, it's only going to the interest.
Most of it, yeah.
Right, and then if I pay like 80, I'm really only making a $30 payment.
Exactly.
Which is the tricky part about it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
So you do that to start, and then the second thing that I would do is I would be building up a savings bucket. I wouldn't be paying extra to the credit card companies because just like you said, a lot of people go through that exact same situation where they'll have unexpected things happen in their life, and the unexpected is always going to happen.
Yeah.
So what we always preach to people is protect, save, and grow, and then debt reductions in between savings and growth. And the reason why you want to do it that way is because if you spend your time putting money in debt, and then you have something happen, you have nothing in liquid savings, then you're going to go right back into debt because you're going to have to use the card again.
Yeah,
and so it's a revolving thing that never ends. And so what we tell people is build up that nest egg, save your money for the common person.
An emergency fund, like $1,000.
Well, what we recommend is for like your first 5 years, you should be trying to save 15 to 20% of your pay until you get to 50% liquidity. So for fifth grade math, if you make 30 grand a year, you want to have about $15,000 in a rainy day fund sitting over to the side. Reason being is because if something happens to you and your tire blows, you don't want to have to go put that on a credit card. You want to be able to pay cash for it. Once you have that $15,000 saved up, you can go and wipe the credit card debt, the student loan debt, all that stuff clean. But if you don't have to, you don't have to. You're not forced to make that decision. Versus now you
are kind of backs against the wall because you only had one channel.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
But you're not alone. Literally, like most people that we work with. 25 to 35 average student loan debt for an American is $24,000.
Right.
So and then average credit card debt is $8,000 to $10,000.
That's a lot.
So it's a lot. So
like
people average $40,000 to $50,000 in debt right out of school.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
I know people with a lot higher too.
I do too.
think that number's about to flip.
Yeah.
I think that number's going to grow pretty soon here.
It is.
As more people get out of school.
Mm-hmm.
Can you transfer your student loan debt into like a no interest? No, probably.
I don't think so. I haven't come across anything, we always tell people that there's like Citizens Trust, SoFi. There's another one that starts with a D that we've recommended people to, but they're usually the best, but they usually want you to have worked for a couple years in corporate America before they'll allow you to consolidate. But if you can consolidate at a lower rate, we always recommend it.
Lower rate.
Mm-hmm.
That's the secret.
Lower rate, longer term, and then pay it off. Build your emergency bucket,
right,
and then write a check and just eliminate it.
Dump it.
Yeah.
So the emergency bucket, and then I've been watching a lot of financial literacy like YouTube videos,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's like a lot of different plans that all these people suggest. There's some who say make the emergency fund. We'll pay off all your debt first,
Mm-hmm.
then make your emergency fund, and then make like a runway, where like that's the terminology they use, where you have maybe like 3 or 4 months of finances secured.
Yeah.
So that way, if you do lose your job, if something happens, you're good for a second.
Correct.
And then there's the other people who, and this is from The Richest Man in Babylon, which is a finance book.
Yeah.
Real simple though.
I think I've read it before.
I loved it. I thought it was cool. 70% you live on,
Mm-hmm.
20% you save, 10% to debt. And then eventually, once that 10% is gone, you get to use 30 to invest in your future,
Mm-hmm.
and to make more money.
Yeah.
What is your general like 80, 20, 40, 60 plan that you kind of have laid out for maybe yourself or some of your clients?
So what I always tell people is like, I try not to change my lifestyle as my income grows. So
Good rule.
I always tell people like, find where your comfort level is early, like find what you want your lifestyle to be like for the next 15 to 20 years or 5 to 10 years and establish that. Like get into the apartment or get into the place and the space and everything that you're comfortable with and build that out. And then from there, you don't really need things. It's all about experiences and it's all about building your wealth.
Right.
So what we tell people is, there's really not like a percentage. I always tell people like for me, I only live off of about like 14 or 13% of what I make annually. And my debt service is like less than 1.5%. But like for most people, it's like the inverse. It's like they're paying on like 50 or 60% debt,
Right.
and then they live off of 20 or 30, and then they maybe like pay taxes on like whatever's left. So what I always tell people is like try and live as lean as you can for as long as you can. Even when you get pay increases, put that money away or put it to work for you.
Yeah.
So the school of thought is debt service less than 20%. So that's lifestyle less than 20 or 30%, and then taxes are going to be about 20 to 30%, and then you want to save the rest.
Okay.
So a lot of people say 50% on lifestyle, 50% on debt and savings.
Okay.
Is a good number. Yeah, easier way to break it down.
50, 25, 25.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good number.
Yeah.
50 seems good.
Yeah, so
Seems
basically
hard, but it seems
if
good.
you bring in $100, like you're only allowed to spend 50. 25 of it put away for Uncle Sam, 25 put away for a rainy day and for your retirement.
So when you say the Uncle Sam thing, that's interesting too, because it was one of the first YouTube videos I watched that said anything about taxes.
Yeah.
And his plan was, he laid out 3 structures of like the American, or just the average human being.
Mm-hmm.
Is there's the person who goes check,
Mm-hmm.
bank account, spend. And then that's like 85% of how most people live their lives. Or like 80%. And then 15% of people bring it into a business account.
Yep.
Then they pay the taxes.
Yep.
They pay 33% taxes.
Yep.
And then they pay an expense account, and then they transfer what's left over after that
To their personal.
to their personal.
Yep.
And then
That's what I do.
that's what you do.
Yeah.
Because you have a business. You're LLC
Yeah, S corp.
as S corp.
Yeah.
For yourself.
Yep.
Just privately.
Yes.
Yeah. So can you talk about the process of going through that?
It's I actually pay an accountant to do it all for me, so I don't really manage most of it, but it sounds about like what you explained. So literally almost identical.
Right. So you open up a business account under your name, or
Yep.
an S corp,
Yep.
or an LLC, or whatever it may be.
And then they pay the LLC. The LLC pays the taxes. The LLC pays me a salary.
Right.
And then the holding account. And at the end of the year, we sweep the holding account and
Get it to you, bring it back to you.
exactly. Bring it back to me.
And you're not a business in yourself. Your whole business is, you're not a freelancer.
No, exactly.
No, you're just a human being.
Yeah, exactly.
Who opens a business account.
Yeah.
That's the move, huh?
Yeah,
That's
I
what he
mean-
says, is that's what separates like 80% from the 15% of other wealthy, and then the generational wealth, they even split it up more,
Yeah.
but they have more checks to do so.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, there's a huge disparity between like financial literacy and education in America, and like what people should. It's funny, we go to school and we learn about quadrilaterals and parallelograms, which you and I will probably never use in our lifetime in practical application,
Right.
but they don't even teach you how to balance a budget or open up a checking account. And it's like, or which banks to work with, which ones not to work with. So
Or
it's
that
like,
you can move your loans, your credit card debt into a place with no interest.
Nobody knew that.
Credit union.
I know. And nobody knew that you could get free service, that you could go online and check all this stuff and see where you stand in society. So, I mean, yeah, it's crazy to me that every day, like so many practical things, and I'm still learning a lot. I've been doing this for 6-7 years now.
Right.
And, I mean, every week I'm like, wow, I had no idea, you know,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And
That's
so
how
like,
the rich stay richer. They keep the funnel going because the information is there, but you got to look for it if you really want to learn.
exactly. But they should be teaching more of this stuff in schools. I think they should start, you know, education needs to be reformed. I think they need to start teaching more practical application stuff that we're dealing with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like how to purchase a car,
Right.
how to open up a credit card,
Like
which
a personal finance class, but not just your senior year of high school, but starting in like 8th grade and going all the way up.
these things should be going from like the time that you're a child all the way through college, and they aren't. I mean, think about how many times you see NBA athlete, NFL athlete busted, completely
Spend all the
broke,
money, right.
spend it all. And it's like, well, why wasn't somebody teaching them how to manage their cash?
Even when they retire, a lot of them lose a lot of their money.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're all broke by the time they're 50 or something ridiculous like
Yeah,
that.
or I'll sit down with a lot of millennials that'll have $50,000-$60,000 in their 401k,
Yeah.
which is locked away till 59 and a half, and they'll have 20 or 30,000 in student loan debt that they haven't touched, that's in default. And it's like, why wouldn't you have paid that off and then started to save for retire?
Right.
You know, like, or it's
Eliminate bad debt and then
just,
get things out.
things like that. So it's like, you know, it's interesting when we sit down and we talk to people, and you know, everybody is taught something different. Everybody Googles a different way, or a different algorithm, or a different word.
Or you YouTube a thing, I've read 3 personal finance books and they all are different plans.
Yes, they're all different. So like, you got to find what works for you and what's going to work with your personality.
Right.
And it's the same thing in choosing a planner. You want somebody that's going to be an advocate and grow with you, not already like where they're at, and you know, you're trying to like play catch up basically.
Right. Like, just get the Roth IRA. Put it
Yeah,
at 50.
exactly.
I had 2 meetings with, not Wells Fargo. It doesn't matter their name, but they told me they were just trying to sell me life insurance. Do you guys sell life insurance?
Yeah, we do to certain people.
Yeah,
Not to everybody.
Not to young people. Or just
I mean, some young people.
if you're at a high risk or something like
Well, it just depends. I mean, some people want to use tools for different things. Some people don't want to save for retirement. Some people want to do other things. So it may make sense, but it all just depends on the person and the situation.
Because then there's little hacks you can do with like the life insurance where you move it all over, right? And you can like draw from it early or something like that. What is it again?
Yeah, there's certain types of vehicles out there where you can do that.
And that's just little ways to move your money around where it's untaxable.
Yeah, I don't think that it's necessarily untaxable, but it's a tax advantaged account for you.
Tax advantage.
Yeah, I think that's the proper terminology. There's nothing where you can avoid tax. Uncle Sam's always going to get his piece no matter what.
Right. It's vague. So did you start the LLC yourself? Because that's something that I'm like working on trying to do by the end of the month. Is the LLC myself?
You can go to the I think I don't know if John Husted's still in the thing, but it's the Ohio Secretary of State's office and their website. You can literally apply for an LLC for like $75 or $150. I don't know what the cost of it is.
If you go, it's 70. It's like 150. If you go in, it's $100.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
save you $50 if you just go in, which I think is a better business move.
Yeah.
If you're going to try to business yourself out.
It is. Go in.
Do you only have one LLC? Or
I have multiple. Well, multiple LLCs. One is Corp. Yeah.
Do you mind talking about what your other LLCs are in?
I started investing in real estate too, so I do some real estate investing, and so properties are held in those LLCs.
And each address is a different LLC, right?
For my situation, yes. For other people's, not necessarily. I have clients that have one LLC that has 50 properties under it, or I learned from a guy that was older, that was a client of mine, that I liked his philosophy, and I was like, I'm going to use his philosophy.
That's the lady who owns this building. She owned 4 of the properties, and then she had her own businesses in the properties. And when I was signing up, I was telling her about to file for the LLC and all this stuff, and she said keep each property under a separate thing, and then the LLC inside that property different too, and you gotta make all these little bubbles. That way if one pops, they're all separated.
Yeah, and I've heard that too, and I've heard other schools of thought too. I've heard people say, well, it's more expensive from a tax filing perspective, so don't have a bunch of separate LLCs, which that's true. It is more expensive. But and then I've heard from a liability perspective, it's better because if something happens on this property, you won't affect anything else. It won't. And then people say, well, if you get umbrella insurance, that's what covers it. So there's a million different schools of thought out there for that stuff, but everybody's got their own way.
So when you decide to make an investment like real estate, are you also in the market?
Yeah.
S&P 500, Vanguard fund, what do you do?
Yeah, I work with American funds. I like them both because American Fund's active core portfolios through PMC has outperformed the S&P for the last 30 years.
Cool.
So if you average it, not every single year. But I like them a lot because diversified portfolios in active managed funds always outperform passive aggressive investment strategies. Yeah.
Because they're working, but they're just not working like as risky as some other places.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you put something into the market, is that like they're all long-term investments? Always. Yeah, I don't do any day trading. I don't do any like buy a stock and then pump and dump or anything like that. Like my philosophy is like if I'm going to invest it, I'm not looking at it for 20 or 30 years. When did all this? So you said you worked for this at where you worked for 9 years?
No, I've been in the business for 6.5, 7.
When did your like personal finance journey start?
Probably about, I would say honestly, 3 to 4 years. I mean, it's always been going on, but I never really had a grip on it until about 3 or 4 years ago. So probably when I was like 26, 27.
So even when you were working at the place, you didn't quite have a grip on your own?
The first couple of years was tough, man. You get into, our business is very like, it's high pressure, it's a lot of sales, and you don't make a lot your first few years, frankly. So until you get your bearings underneath you, start to build up a client base, you start to get people to trust you, it's tough, man. Like you're pretty much paycheck to paycheck, or sometimes even worse than that. Sometimes you're, doing the things that I was talking about earlier, like putting money on a credit card
or overdrawn.
Yeah.
And you know that. So a cycle that I get into that's pretty dangerous is on Fridays. If I overdraw on Friday, I have 24-hour protection on Huntington, but Friday at the end of bank day, and usually I'm overdrawing around midnight.
Yeah.
On Friday night, and then the whole weekend doesn't count because they're not business days. You get your 24-hour protection on Monday. On Tuesday, when I would get hit with my overdraw fees, they count money in before they count money out. So like they'll allow your, the paycheck to hit, and then they'll take out all the overdraft fees, or not overdraft fees, but they'll recover the balance. So that's the game I play like every 2 weeks. Is like paycheck comes in on Tuesday, and I'm riding that line, and it's a thrill, but it's not sustainable.
Yeah, it's definitely not sustainable. No. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that.
No.
That'd not be a recommendation.
But it's fine. No, it's good. But yeah, that's the kind of cycle I'm trying to break. So you recommend 50 seems like really hard though if you only make like, I don't know, 26, 24.
You gotta slim your lifestyle down. You gotta either move to like an area that you're not as crazy about.
Right.
Or get more roommates. Like a lot of people, you gotta do things that you're willing to make. You have to be willing to make sacrifices to get financial freedom. Our generation, the big problem is and it's not you, it's everybody.
Of course.
It's the entitlement generation. We all think that we should be able to have our own apartment in the city downtown, drive a sweet car,
drink and
have to go out and eat the good food, wear the cool clothes, have the good hair gel, all that stuff, and drive, and not have to worry about anything. And it's like, it's just not realistic. You're gonna have to make sacrifices somewhere if you want to get to where you want to go. So ultimately what I tell people is like, do you want to enjoy it today or do you want to enjoy it tomorrow? If you want to enjoy it today, then keep doing what you're doing. If you want to enjoy it tomorrow and you really want to have the fruits of your labor earlier in life than 70 or 80, then what you got to start doing is you got to start making sacrifices. You got to say, maybe I should get a roommate and cut my expenses in half. Maybe I should move back to a campus area if I want to be downtown, but I still want to be close, or maybe like a Franklinton, or some of these up and coming neighborhoods, the Milo Grogans, the Old Town East. Like, you don't have to be in the short north. It's an Uber ride, and you go out maybe 2 nights a week, so it costs you $14.
Right.
Instead, you're paying $500 more a month to be right in the heart of it, when it really would cost you an extra $80 a month if you lived over in Old Town East and just Ubered there on the weekends.
Right.
So like, you just got to think about things like that, and like, the trade-offs, the benefits, that kind of stuff. And just being more, I guess you'd call it resourceful in your own personal economy. What I tell people is like, there's so many sites out there. We actually learned about this where you can sell things that you don't use anymore. There's a lot of sites out there that buy, sell, trade sites where you can get rid of like clothing,
Facebook Marketplace, stuff
everything.
Right.
So like what we tell people is like, if you're not using it, you shouldn't have it.
So yeah, let's do that like that. So like obviously the biggest one is your rent.
Yes.
Seems to be the biggest.
Yeah, it's usually the highest expense for most people.
Right. And then cutting out. So like, what's your opinion on like the $5 Starbucks versus like where do you see those little minor daily?
Those are huge. Those are huge. So yeah, if you can get a Keurig, buy a Keurig, buy a coffee maker, get those individual cups. Even Keurig now has one of these things that you can put inside the Keurig coffee maker. You can go buy the Maxwell House or the Folgers, the big tub, and scoop it in yourself.
Yeah, it's a reusable cup.
Reusable K cup, and it's like, it's good for the environment, and it's a lot less. I think it's like 20 cents a coffee cup versus $5. So think about that savings over a year.
That's a lot.
I mean, literally 5 times 365 days. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's like $1,500, I think.
Exactly. So you just save that alone just by doing something like going and purchasing a $100 K cup machine, making your own coffee at home versus, spending $5 every single day for Starbucks.
And so I guess that's transferable to all things. But what is another big? So cut minor expenses.
Yep.
Cut the big one, the rent. What's your opinion on home ownership?
I think if you can own, I think you should.
A lot of times for some of these people who are paying $1,300, $1,200, $1,100 in rent,
can't afford to own.
They can't afford a home because a mortgage can be $750.
Yeah.
Or $800.
Can be. Yeah, it just depends on taxes. Taxes have gone up pretty high the last couple of years. In real estate, they go up. I think every 7, the city does an adjustment. The county auditor does an adjustment. So it just went up this past year.
Okay.
So everybody's taxes went up. So that's why you're seeing a lot of people like home ownership has kind of slowed in the last year. Like the prices have stayed very high, but like as far as young people acquiring, it's been a lot less.
Of course.
But the reason because of that is because of taxes, and then also because of the debt, student loan debt, and things like that.
And also, we want to be able to rent for longer because if you're young and you're locked into a 10-year mortgage, you're locked in. You don't get the choice of maybe leaving. Like if I bought a house now, I would
be stuck unless you want to sell it.
Yeah. Or like rent it.
Yeah, flexibility is huge, and owning isn't for everybody. We've actually seen studies recently where renting can be very advantageous depending on your age and depending on what you're doing, how long you're going to be in your industry or your city or anything like that. So again, everything is like case by case basis, situational. I don't think that owning is always better than renting. I used to 2 or 3 years ago. My thought was if you don't own, what are you doing?
You're just spending money on it.
You're throwing money away.
But because at the end of the year you don't own anything.
Yeah, but I've got clients that they'd rather rent because they don't want to have the maintenance, they don't want to own the asset ever, and they build their wealth in other places.
Right, and you need like an $8,000 to a $10,000 down payment usually.
I've heard of programs out there where you can get in as little as not very much, like $500 or $1,000 into like a $250,000 house. There is programs out there where seller paid or mortgage lender paid down payments. They're not as big as they used to be a couple years back. But there are still
back, I think, in 2008.
2-3 years ago, not like subprime stuff, literally a couple years ago, end of Obama administration.
Okay.
So there was stuff that was there that they
because they were trying to get people to buy houses.
Yeah, have people buy more houses again. So, but there's still stuff out there that's like that. It's just you got to find the right lender, the right independent lender that can actually help you get what you need.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I like that because I have friends who want to buy houses and they want to get a duplex and then have the other person pay. That whole dream. But they all think they need $8,000.
Sometimes they do. Just everybody's situation is different.
Right.
Everybody's situation.
And then when you take that $8,000 also as a different aspect of looking at it, somebody who wants to open a business or do something else can do a lot more with that $8,000 than just buy a house.
Yeah.
You can grow your wealth in other ways.
It's true.
What do you suggest everybody does? So when did you get into real estate? Just recently?
So I bought my first property when I was 18.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then it was just a condo flip I did with my dad downtown.
Downtown Columbus?
Yeah, here in Columbus.
Nice.
It was in an old building over west of Bexley. And then I bought my second place when I was 22 with an ex-girlfriend out in New Albany. We purchased a condo together. We sold that, and then I moved downtown, and then I bought a single family home over in German Village that I just sold less than a year ago, and then just purchased a duplex down there again. And
living in half and then having the other half rented out.
I don't know yet. Haven't decided.
But you don't, or do you live?
No, I don't live there right now.
Do you live in
Short North? Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So that's the other thing too. Is that'd be an aspect of it that I maybe is living in the. My rent right now is $300.
Yeah.
And I live in a house with 2 people. It's fantastic.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that's the lowest one I have, and that's what I'm trying to keep. But I would be interested in owning a house that I don't even sleep in, and then just having it.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Just waiting for the property value to go up?
No, just getting the rent rates up, getting them up higher.
Yeah, waiting for rent to be like a good price and then start filling it out.
Oh no, it's getting filled right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I literally just acquired it, so it's
Nice.
a very new purchase.
Nice, very cool, man. That's like 3 properties you've owned then, right?
5 if you count. 6. Wow, yeah, 6 properties, and then I was a partner on a 7th. So yeah, 7 in a decade.
And it always been flipping?
No, they were never flips. They were mostly like I was living in them for a couple of years and then would just move out of them and sold them. Yeah.
Nice.
Did well on all of them though.
Good for you.
Yeah, and there wasn't one that I lost money on, which is pretty sweet. Knock on wood.
That's a good, it's probably a good track record.
Yeah,
for
it
7
is.
in a decade.
Yeah.
That's pretty tight. So like real estate versus the market versus it should all be diversified and all that, but what's like the best place to kind of start as a young individual?
Just literally just chunking away cash as much as you can possibly do. Look at those, subscribe to some of those apps that like every time you buy something, they take the change. Like
I have Acorns.
Yeah.
Acorns is dope. I've paid for, of course I use them.
Yeah.
I withdraw the Acorn, but like I paid for
trips and stuff like that, or
trips
equipment.
and little stuff that happen and equipment
Yeah.
and little stuff that's
So
happening.
like I always recommend start there, start small, start paying off your debt, start acquiring. If you have a company plan, put into the company plan up to the match, take advantage of the free money if it's available. If it's not,
When you say free money?
like match money. So if your company's gonna
Oh,
offer
right,
a
if you
match,
just got a company, you
yeah,
get the match on your 401k.
take advantage of that. There's nothing that a financial advisor can do that's better than free money.
Yeah.
If they tell you they can, they're probably a scam artist and you should run.
Right.
So I always tell people like, there's nothing I can sell you or tell you that's better than your company giving you free cash.
Yeah.
Take advantage of that.
That's tight.
But then outside of that, like you want to build up your emergency fund, you want to pay down your debt, you want to go and acquire property at some point, you want to do those kinds of things. So you just want to keep kind of just progressing slowly but surely and up and to the right is the hope.
To the right. And that way, like by starting with that cash savings, and you suggest half of your yearly income.
Yes,
Which is
I
pretty
do.
high.
It's
That
hard
could
to
take,
do.
like 2
It's hard to do.
years or 4
Yeah, you
years
can.
to make.
Some people takes 5 years.
Yeah.
But once they have that nest egg, it never goes away if they're smart.
Right.
Because they can
don't
do
just write
something.
one big check when they get it. They
No.
just keep going and going.
And usually they get into an addictive habit. A lot of people, what we do when we help them push them, is they'll get addicted to saving. So like a lot of people that we work with, they'll get to like 10,000. They're like, now I want 20.
Yeah,
Get
because
to
it,
20,
looks,
now
it
they
probably
want
looks
30.
pretty
It's
tight.
very
Like sitting
attractive.
under your phone, like a big chunk of change.
Yeah, so what we tell people is like, you're gonna get addicted to it. Like we'll start people out with like $100 a month into just like a brokerage account, not investing at all, just sitting in the money market. And after like a year, they're like, okay, let's put 200. Okay, after a year, let's put 300. Okay, after a year, let's put 600, 700.
Let's save as much as we can.
Yeah, and then over time, it just becomes a big,
Pot
of money.
When you said a brokerage account, is that like a high interest bank account?
No, it's literally it's like a bank account, but just with a financial institution, not a bank.
Okay. Because there are those high interest banks accounts. Because
Yeah.
the other one I read was I Will Teach You to Be Rich. I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. It was a cool book. And it was cool, like millennial based, where it was like, if you really like going out, decide that that's your main expense, and then don't buy new clothes. Just go out to eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just choose one lane.
That's cool.
Don't try to do all of them.
Yeah.
Which is decent advice.
It's really good advice.
Yeah, and
Probably limits your exposure in a lot of other areas.
right, exactly. Because you're not like trying to buy a new suit every week and
Exactly.
buy a lobster dinner. You know, you're just
Yeah.
buying the lobster dinner, so
Yeah.
at least it cuts off one cost. But he highly suggested going to high interest bank accounts that you can't really touch. That are like, it takes like 5 days to get the money out. Do you guys do any work with those?
No, we don't.
No.
We don't. We would refer them out.
You'd refer them though?
Yeah.
If it was the right move?
Definitely.
Yeah, why not?
Definitely. I'm all about sharing.
Yeah. That's good.
There's enough to go around. for
There's
everybody.
enough pie.
Yeah.
That seems to be the general Columbus theme, and that's kind of my last question. I'm gonna save it, but like, what's like a great thing about Columbus? A lot of people say it's like the collaborative nature.
Yeah, I think Columbus is such a cool. It's like a melting pot, but it's like my opinion. The reason why I stayed here, like I grew up here, born and raised on the northeast side of town, and the reason why I like Columbus so much is because everybody's big on local, which is huge for me. They want to support local businesses. They're not big on the big box chains. We have a lot of businesses here that have started here that have transcended into bigger space than what they were. You see a lot of these shops like open up in one area and then it's in every little suburb, which is really cool. The other thing is people are willing to help, and it's just a nice Midwestern town right in the middle of everything, and it's very diverse, which I love. love the diversity, and I just like the culture. It's just like every neighborhood has its own feel, and they have their own people, but like everybody's kind of intermingled and interconnected still.
Right.
And it's the center of commerce in the entire Midwest. You've got Chicago, all the way up to Pittsburgh, all the way down to Nashville, all the way up to Michigan, and we're kind of right in the middle of everything.
And everything comes through here.
Everything comes through here, so it's cool.
A good economy.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, during the last recession, it was it did very well.
Yeah, Austin and Columbus were the two of the only cities that didn't get hit.
Exactly.
Which is an excellent segue to one of my other questions, is that a lot of people get spooked, especially because 2008 happened in our like generational lifetime of dips, and everybody says that we're at a bull market right now and that the downfall's coming. If you follow like Gary Vaynerchuk or Tim Ferriss or any of them, they're all saying it's going to happen soon, but I think that they have to say that because statistically it is going to happen soon if you know.
Yeah, if you follow patterns.
If you follow patterns and trends. So where you fall on that whole economic doomsday scenario, because you haven't had to deal with it in your professional
So
life.
I actually got into the business right on the tail end of the last recession.
Right.
So I didn't get to deal with it, but I got to deal with a lot of the aftermath from it.
The spook.
No, after 2008, like 2009, 10, 11, the housing crisis, all that stuff, I was dealing with it coming into the industry.
Yeah, so like we were all, probably a lot of your first clients were spooked and they were nervous about what might happen.
So, what we tell people is keep a long-term horizon. You're going to invest. Your first dollar in is going to be your most valuable dollar when you get to retirement. But just keep a long-term horizon. Rome wasn't built in a day. And when it comes to investing, you're not going to turn an investment and you're not going to win the lottery overnight.
Right.
So you got to keep a long-term perspective. Think about it over a 20, 30-year time frame. And if you do it that way, you use modern portfolio theory, you buy and hold, you dollar cost average, you invest regularly, over a long period of time, you should do well.
Because the downfall was the crash was only 4 years, 5 years.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a 30-year plan, you might see 2 or 3 dips in the market.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, you should be, because it always rises up higher.
Yeah.
If you follow the trend.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think anytime soon it might happen if you had to think about it?
I really don't put much thought into it. I think that, there definitely has to be one. I just don't know when. If I had a crystal ball, I wouldn't be here. I'd be on a beach with
you'd be much richer than the rest of us.
Yeah, I'd be on a beach with a martini in my hand and, relaxing.
What are things that you do just like on the weekends in Columbus that you like to do?
I like cycling a lot. I got my bike stolen actually. I had it stolen right out of my garage. Left my garage door open one night on accident on a rainy night. Woke up in the morning, nothing was gone, just my bike. So I like to cycle. I'm getting ready to get another bike.
Nice.
Love the short north. Love German Village. Like bouncing around all the different little neighborhoods and the different pizza shops, the bars, all that stuff. Hang out with my girlfriend a lot. We do a lot of stuff. We got 2 dogs, so we spend a lot of time together with them, and we just hang out. Hers is a mixed breed. It's like a mutt from a shelter.
You each got your own dog?
Yeah. Well, we both had them separate. Now we're together. And
so now you now see dogs.
And so we spend a lot of time together. We're big foodies. We like to go to restaurants. We have a couple other couples that we hang out with that we'll go out to dinner with on the weekends, and we just kind of keep it low key.
Real domestic.
Yeah, we don't do too much.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you travel?
A lot. Yeah, at least once a month.
Do you travel for work or you just get to travel?
Personal, every month.
Really?
Yeah, we take a 4-day trip every single month.
That's tight.
Yeah.
Where are you going this month?
So this month is Chicago. We just got back from Miami last month. We were in Puerto Rico the month before, and then we got Austin next month.
Damn.
So
every month?
Every single month, 4-day trip.
Nice.
Yep, end of the month, last weekend of the month.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
That's a really cool little tradition you got going on.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Austin's dope. Austin's
never been?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're gonna have a good time. I've been like 7 times this year.
So yeah, it's been cool. That was like one of the things when I started working for myself a couple years back when I could afford to. I was like, every month I'm gonna take a trip. So last year, or 2017, I took like 15 trips. 2018, I took like 10 or 11.
Yeah.
This year I'm on pace for 12. So like I just try to do at least like one weekend getaway every single month. Either with, boys trip, girlfriend, family, whatever.
That might be the best, example of why to get your money right, because then you can take a trip every month. It's a dream for a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't go out a lot in Columbus. Like, I actually was out last night with a couple of friends, and they were like, "We haven't seen you in months." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Like, we've seen you been traveling, but we haven't seen you out." And I'm like,
I'm enjoying that.
Yeah,
doing your thing.
Exactly. So,
is there anything that you have done or do for like little quick cash flips, just in like that hustle economy of like?
No, I mean, I'd say the best thing is like,
and like sold them.
Yeah, find hobbies that you enjoy. Like, so like early on, what I would do is like when I started buying properties, like there would be things inside the house that I would sell. Like if I took down light fixtures or something, I would resell those because like they're worth something, you know, appliances. I just met with a client yesterday that would go around campus. People at the end of the year or every throw away everything, all their furniture. They would literally go around, rent a U-Haul. They rented a storage unit. They were putting the furniture up on Craigslist or on Facebook Marketplace. They saved up $40,000 in 2 years between the two guys. Literally just going around
2 years.
2 years, just picking up junk at Ohio State.
And then just leaving it up on Craigslist.
Leaving it on Craigslist, taking pictures of it, having people come by and pick it up. And so like little things like that, there's so many ways to make money. You just gotta find what you're passionate about. I always tell people, don't do something to do it for the hustle. Right. Do something because you care about it, you love it, you want to do it, and then the money will come.
Right. If you hate moving furniture and you hate Craigslist, don't do that.
Yeah,
exactly.
If you
like shoes, flip some shoes.
Exactly. If you like shoes, find a place that's selling them for a discount and buy them and then upsell them. You know.
Right. And that's totally in your financial agenda. It's like hustling for the quick dollar. It's not like.
I'm more of a long-term thinker,
right?
Yeah, but I don't really get into like get-rich-quick schemes or like those kind of things. I mostly focus on like if I can, you know, increase my business 10 to 20% a year every single year, and I get multiple streams of income built up over the next decade. Like then I can make my own life recession-proof. You know?
Yeah, right.
It's like I've been big on like multiple streams of income. Everything that I read about billionaires and multimillionaires is like. They have their business and they have another entity that they're part of, another entity that they own that somebody's doing the work and paying them. So like my big thing is like how can I build up multiple streams of income?
How many streams do you have right now, if you don't mind me asking?
I've got a few inside of my financial planning practice that pay me every single year. So and then the real estate stuff as well. So
when you say you have some inside your financial planning practice that pay you, are you talking about like the dividends on your investments?
Yeah, that investment book, the renewals or the residual that comes off the book of business for just holding it and taking care of the clients, and then new business that you bring in, and other reps if you're working with other advisors, and you get a piece of their case.
So there's a couple different ways in your industry to get paid.
Yep.
And then from then on.
And those are set up as like multiple streams, and then you also have, you know, real estate, either rentals or flips, those kinds of things. And then, you know, if you partner with a buddy on a restaurant or a bar, you might get another stream of income from that.
Yeah.
So like, you know, you want to build up as many streams of income as you can so that one year you have a bad year in this, you've got income coming in from here, income coming in from here. It really doesn't affect your lifestyle.
Yeah. It's like a 20%, 20%, 20%. It's just diversified just like anything else should be.
Diversification, man.
Yeah.
We're sipping coffee, you're in my front seat. Please tell me what's going on in that one. I've known you for a long time. I'm not always right, I'm only trying to be nice with my unsolicited advice. Unsolicited advice.